This is Sid Haas with LKCS. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here, and today's presentation is going to focus on social media and our social media solutions, appropriate use of social media, how to manage social media, and the like. We'll give an overview of social media marketing. We'll discuss what makes effective social media content, and as I said, we'll help you learn strategies to manage social media and its challenges. So when we talk about social media marketing is the process of using different media platforms to engage new and current account holders. What's important to know is social media is really about engagement and having conversations, with your followers. Your communities have to be built. You have to spend some time, some dedication to your social media efforts to build that community, to generate that engagement. It requires some dedication, on your part. It is not a set it and forget it marketing strategy. You need to be engaged with your community so that your community engages with you. The social media landscape is massive, right? I mean, there's new social media channels popping up, it seems, every day, every week, every month. Ask a teenager what social media platforms they're using, and you're likely to get very different answers, than you've ever thought of. There's well over 100 different social media channels. Some are dedicated to specific audiences, right? If you think about LinkedIn, it's, dedicated specifically to the business type world, but you have some that are dedicated specifically to photos and images, and YouTube is an example, right, where it's dedicated to videos. So lots of different purposes, lots of different audiences, and you need to select channels, that are the best fit for your institution. And we'll talk about some of those, obviously. The benefits of social media marketing, there are many of them. First off, you're going to increase your brand awareness and exposure. Social media is becoming a huge member and customer service channel, so you'll be able to strengthen relationships and expand account opportunities. You'll build that community of followers. You will boost traffic to your website and improve your search engine optimization. All of those things are side benefits of using social media. Along with enhancing your brand, you'll also improve your company's trustworthiness. You'll be seen as experts, based on the content that you're publishing. Be seen as experts, hopefully, in your industry and in your space. You'll be able to cut marketing costs. Social media marketing is not expensive, and you'll be monitoring your brand's reputation online. All of that will lead to additional account acquisition and sales opportunities. It's going to be difficult for you to find a one-to-one relationship and how much money you're generating as a result of your social media efforts. It's a difficult calculation, but you will see, that social media becomes that customer service channel, as I mentioned, and will lead to certainly some new business coming your way. So when you're first looking at getting started with social media, Facebook is the first place to turn. And why we say that, some of these numbers are staggering, and these are the latest numbers that Facebook has published. But Facebook has 1.79 billion monthly active users. That's not their total users. Those are who's logging in at least, actively once per month. And they've got 1.18 billion daily users. And of those 1.18, the vast majority are mobile. With over almost 178 million daily users in the U.S. and Canada. You can read the other facts on here, but the fact of the matter is that at least 30% of Americans are getting their news on Facebook. We saw with the recent election how the issue of fake news became such a big deal, and the reason is because people are seeing Facebook and other social media channels as their primary sources of news. So by you publishing your content, your educational content, your sales content, promotions, things like that, it's going to be seen and it's going to get attention paid to it. Twitter is another very common platform. Twitter is especially useful for those, member and customer service opportunities. There are 313 million monthly active tweeters. Significantly smaller, obviously, than Facebook. Over 67 million in the U.S. What's interesting is that there's quite a few. I don't have an exact percentage for you, but it's a significant portion of Twitter users that actually never tweet. They're just following and listening and absorbing content, but they're not actually publishing content on Twitter. 500 million tweets are sent per day. That's over 5,700 tweets every second. So it's just a massive amount of conversation happening out there, that you can participate in, listen to, and spread. LinkedIn is clearly popular with many financial institutions. 28% of U.S. adults use LinkedIn. So 13% of millennials use LinkedIn. You can see CEOs average 930 LinkedIn connections. So if a significant portion of your business is reaching out to businesses, following businesses, having relationships with those, business account holders, then LinkedIn is a realistic place, for you to do that. It's a different animal, I guess, than Facebook. It's a different conversations, different types of content, but you can certainly leverage both platforms. Google Plus, I like to mention, not as a social media platform. It's basically failed miserably as a social media platform, but it's important in the social media conversation because it's owned by Google. And because it's owned by Google, by publishing content to Google Plus, you will have a significant effect on search engine optimization, or the way that your website is found in search results. Google pays specific attention to content published to Google Plus. Every post you make gets its own unique URL and gets indexed and returned in search results. So our typical recommendation is that any content that you're publishing to Facebook, you also publish to Google Plus. You've already probably got Google Plus pages for each of your locations. You just need to claim those, and then you can start publishing to them. And those are all things that that we could potentially help you with if you need guidance. And blogs. Blogs are important social media elements as well. Again, they improve those search engine optimization rankings. Blog content is fresh. It's typically educational or newsworthy in some way. So it definitely, will help with the SEO and establish your expertise in the market. And blogs can generate leads. We typically recommend that you enable comments on your blog posts and include calls to action in your blog posts to get those conversations going with your blog and to get inquiries and interest, from those blog posts. To succeed with social media, you have to be social, which means you have to post and respond fairly often. You will need to post at least 3 to 5 times per week is a very good number on Facebook. You don't want to abuse that relationship. We see some banks and credit unions that post on Facebook probably a little bit too often. People are on Facebook to communicate with their friends. They're not so much on there to communicate with businesses all the time. They don't mind your content, and they want to certainly see your content, but you don't want to abuse that relationship. So we typically recommend posting on Facebook about 3 to 5 times per week. If you're tweeting, however, a tweet has a very short lifespan, anywhere from about a few minutes. So if you're tweeting, you can tweet multiple times per day without worrying about, offending any of your followers. You would want to actually post new updates during business hours. The highest traffic on social media sites still occurs midweek between 1 and 3 p.m. And Thursdays and Fridays engagement is 18% higher. So, some things to note. And when we say that you need to respond often, you want to be active in conversations, both on, potentially on your social media pages and others that you follow. You want to thank people for their comments. You want to be visible, and you certainly don't want to ignore or delete negative comments. And we'll talk about that when we talk about some of the challenges with social media. But you want to develop a post strategy, which means you want to create your content in advance. You want to be able to schedule when it goes live, because the last thing you need to do is come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and realize, gee, I don't have a post for today. I need to come up with content. You're way better off, building that content in advance, scheduling when it goes live, even if you need to put in some placeholders, and we'll show you some examples. But if you have an event coming up on Wednesday, maybe you don't write that post for Wednesday, but at least you know what Wednesday's post is going to be about. Use photos, images, links, and videos whenever possible. That's what people are engaged with, photos and videos. And, for those of you that are active on Facebook, you're seeing more and more posts with videos all the time. You want to make sure that you keep your content social. Content needs to be fun and informative, and not just push your products and services. There's a balance, and we'll talk about that further as we go along. So what makes good content? As I've already said, photos and videos make good content. Links makes great content. Don't limit your links just to your products and just to your website, but link to other websites, link to news articles that you find, little funny tidbits, mix it up. We're heading into the beginning of the year, so debt consolidation and, individual retirement accounts and all those things are timely. So, maybe you find some good articles on, how do you prevent holiday fraud, and how do you, improve your retirement savings, and you link to those. Use that 80-20 rule. So this is where I'm talking about that 80% of your status updates give value to your fans first, and 20% are promotional or sales related or brand first. You want to post like a person, post like a friend, and not a brand, right? You want to be informal. You want to be personal in your posts, and you want to stay away from complex terms and acronyms and all of the. Not everybody on social media is financial savvy, so we want to be sure that the content that we're posting can be consumed by everybody. And again, reply to fans when they comment on your status updates, when they like your status update, and encourage them to interact more. Keep your status updates short. Facebook obviously now lets you write much longer posts, but that doesn't mean that people are going to read them. You still only see so much at a time and have to expand those posts to see more. And obviously on Twitter, you're still limited to about 140 characters. Twitter has released, basically some of the restrictions. They used to count, links to photos and, other links in that 140 characters. They've since excluded those from that 140 character limit, which is great, but there's still not a lot you can say in 140 characters. Celebrate milestones. People love celebrations. They love anniversaries and, other numbers. Recipes. I know it sounds funny, but especially going into the holidays, you post your favorite cookie recipes, or your employees' favorite fudge recipes, whatever it is. And I guarantee you that people will engage with it. And most importantly, post regularly. Be consistent in your posting. That doesn't mean you can't take time off, because again, you're going to be scheduling this content ahead. But what you don't want to do is, start posting 3 to 5 times a week on Facebook for the next 2 months, and then have a gap of 3 weeks in there and then pick it back up again. You need to be consistent so that people are looking for your content, and your content's being delivered, to at least the top of some users, pages. Like I've mentioned before, social media is all about engagement. So how do you get people to engage? Just because you're sending out your posts and your tweets doesn't mean people are necessarily engaging with you. So the first thing to do is to start asking for engagement, right? Ask for likes. Tell users to click like if they agree with a statement, or, on Twitter, ask for retweets. Trivia is terrific in social media, so pick your Trivia Tuesdays or Trivia Thursdays, or, whatever day you want. and throw out that little trivia question. Maybe answer it later that afternoon or the next day. But people will start looking for those and engaging with them and answering them. Ask a question about an image, right? Help us caption this image. Where was this taken? Whatever it is. Same thing with contests and photos and captions. People love submitting photos and submitting captions. I mean, I can think of last year when it was National Pet Day or one of those days that, one of our clients just said, hey, post a picture of your dog or cat. And they literally had hundreds of photos being posted, and they weren't even giving anything away. It was just, it became, one of those viral successes for them. So use simple fill in the blank prompts, again, just anything that'll get somebody to, submit a response to you to let them know that they're out there. Content is easier to find than you think. We hear it all the time. Well, gee, we just don't have a lot going on. I don't have much that I can talk about. Well, talk to your human resources department, right? Anytime they have a new hire, a promotion, or a transfer, have an Ask the President type post once a week. Have him post about a question that he got from somebody or her. Your employees, ask them, in each department, what are those frequently asked questions that you get all the time? What are the tips and tricks? Give, little educational tips and tricks about service areas that they're in. Certainly you can talk about products and services. You can talk about your specials. You can talk about when rates change or when they're expected to change. You can talk about new product launches, all those types of things. If you publish a newsletter, I guarantee you that if you look in every article that you're writing in that newsletter, that you'd be able to find multiple social media posts probably in each article. And certainly from a newsletter, you've got a treasure trove of social media content. If you're spending the time to develop that content for the newsletter purposes, start taking a few sentences out of there and using them as social media posts. Obviously, any of your community events, whatever you're involved in, whatever donations you're making, whatever parades or fairs you're participating in, wherever you're setting up exhibit tables, those are all opportunities for you to post short photos or videos, of where you were and what you were doing. Your business accounts, certainly, promote grand openings in the area or sales and specials potentially, or, restaurant, menus and all sorts of stuff like that. You can build those relationships you have with those realtors and, auto dealers and all that. Leverage all of that in your social media posts as well. And then as you can see on there, you can certainly, throw in information about news and weather and sports and trivia and, all those types of things. So now we'll jump into social media challenges, because certainly social media brings some new challenges, that other marketing efforts don't. And there's a lot of fear out there about social media. So the biggest fear is about brand reputation, right? People are going to now complain about you all of a sudden where they weren't complaining about you before. Well, that's not necessarily true. People are talking about your institution, whether you like it or not. You're just, by having a social media presence, you're giving them a place to have that conversation, but that enables you to control that conversation. So if somebody's going to post a complaint to your website or to your Facebook page, that gives you an opportunity to reply to that issue and to that complaint. You'll be able to answer questions and solve issues that you uncover. And we'll talk about that further in regards to negative posts in particular. Social media does put demands on your time. Like I said, it's something that you have to be committed to. It's not a set it up once and you can forget about it. And we realize that social media is not your only job responsibility. I don't know of too many financial institutions that have a dedicated social media employee or a social media team. But what you need to know is that there's ways to manage this. So you don't have to sign into multiple sites, throughout the day so that you're sure you don't miss a comment or a post. You certainly don't need to follow sites that you don't even, use. What you need are ways to approve and publish the social media content, to review and respond to those posts and comments, and certainly to report on your social media activity and results. And we'll show you how to do that. Social media is constantly growing and changing. We talked about the hundreds of different options that you have as far as different social media channels. And, everybody realizes that you can't possibly establish a presence on every social media site or microblog or review site. So where are people talking about, your financial institution? Well, that's what you need to know. And you need to be able to monitor and consolidate all of those social media sites for mentions and reviews and continue to build that online community of loyal followers. And we can do, there's tools obviously that we're getting at that can help you, automate some of this. So in particular with the negative posts, there are strategies that you can implement to turn negative comments into positive opportunities. The one thing that we caution you is not to delete negative comments. Regulators don't want you doing that, and quite honestly, your account holders realize that not everybody is always happy with their banks or credit unions. So certainly you want to remove any posts that are inappropriate or offensive, that contain vulgar language, that violate your privacy policy or any other policies for that matter. But know that people who post negative comments want a reaction. Simply deleting their post, their comment, doesn't diffuse the situation. It's just going to encourage them to complain someplace where you can't do anything about it. It's really how you respond to those negative comments that make the biggest difference. And the fact that you're responding and that that you recognize these negative comments will be seen by other users and may influence their banking decisions. And I'll show you several examples. You may not be able to save the relationship with the person that's complaining, but their friends and followers and everybody else that's looking at their comment is wanting to see how you respond. So you have somebody complaining because they were denied for a loan. Well, here are 3 potential options on how you can respond, right? We're sorry that happened. Here's our credit counseling agency that can help you improve your personal financial situation, et cetera, et cetera. You can read, the different options there. But basically, you're acknowledging their complaint and you're giving them, ways that you can potentially help with the next time they apply for that loan. A general customer service, member service complaint. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Would you like a manager to contact you directly? Will you please call our marketing team? We're going to take this, to the next step. And don't be afraid, and we'll talk about this further as well, to bring these conversations offline, as well, but still post it online. So here's an example of that when somebody's complaining about high fees and bad rates. If you look at the bottom option here, thank you, for your comments. We'll contact you privately to discuss this issue further. Everybody knows, everybody's seen that you've acknowledged the complaint, you've responded to it, and they're assuming that, you're going to follow up on your word and contact that person privately to address the situation. But you want to make sure that you don't just address it privately, that you need to post it on there that we're going to contact you or please contact us, because it shows that you're engaged with your social media profiles. You're watching it. You knew that somebody complained and you responded to that complaint. You're not always going to have the answer. There may not be a way that you can fix the situation, but at least you can show people that you're aware of it and you're engaging with social media, and to continue to bring these issues up and to continue to ask questions, on your social media sites. When we talk about compliance, we realize that social media keeps the compliance people up at night. They're terribly afraid of social media. And I'm sure you've seen by now that the same rules and regulations apply to social media as all other advertising. So just like any other advertising that you're doing, you need to be able to manage the risks, in publishing your information out there. You need to keep management and the board informed of your use of social media. You need to make sure your employees know how to properly use social media. So, the ffiec released their last social media guidance now, 3 years ago in December of 2013. There were no new requirements, but they basically, their guidelines were meant to explain the potential risks and your expectations, on using those platforms, and suggestions on how you should develop your policies and procedures. Social media can be managed efficiently and affordably. You're just going to need a tool, right? So social media monitoring is all about, you can't be looking everywhere all the time, especially when you don't even know where to look. So how do you know what's being said about your institution if you're not looking everywhere constantly all the time? So there's a bunch of tools out there, dozens and dozens of them. Here are some of our favorites, some of the most, popular. Hootsuite is by far, the leading platform as far as the number of users. We feel it offers very good reporting and monitoring. Kind of so-so publishing, and it gets very expensive very quickly, especially when you want some of their compliance features or need multiple users. TweetDeck was a tremendous platform several years ago. It's great for monitoring Twitter, but nothing else. Once Twitter bought TweetDeck, they limited it to using Twitter only. Buffer has great publishing, but very little monitoring. So, if you're looking for just a publishing tool, Buffer is terrific. Sprout Social is a great tool as well. It just limits the number of profiles, social media profiles, and it becomes costly to add users. There's dozens of competitors to each of these four as well, including our own. So, LKCS does have a social media management platform that we'd be happy to show you. I'll walk you through some of the features of it, just so that you can see what tools like this can do. So know with these social media monitoring tools that, you're basically going to be purchasing a subscription. Some of them start out free, such as Hootsuite, but, in most cases, you're going to outuse or outlive the free version pretty quickly. As I've said, there's lots of choices out there with new ones popping up seemingly every day, but you can expect, to be paying about $150 per month on the low end of the social media subscriptions, and well over $1,500 a month on the high end. We don't see very many institutions paying nearly that much, but it really just depends on your scale and size and what you're doing with social media. These tools, these social media monitoring tools, monitor just about any sites, RSS feeds, blogs, for different keywords you set up, brand names, product names, competitors' names. You set up these searches, and these tools obviously will make you aware of any mentions of those terms. They can be agency managed as well. So again, with our tool, we can set it up for you, and help you with all of the management. But you do need a good platform for monitoring and social media management in general. So some of the features that you should look for in these tools is obviously publishing your posts. So we've talked about it before, but you want to be able to post and schedule your content across numerous social media sites at once. So I happened to mention earlier that, we recommend that anything you publish to Facebook, you also publish to Google+. Well, in our tool, that's an extra click, an extra checkbox that you check, and you're publishing that content now to two social media profiles, or even if you have multiple Google Plus profiles, you can group them together. You want to be able to make sure that when you're publishing that you can include text and photos and videos and links right in that social media tool. You want to be able to potentially preview and edit those scheduled posts and review posts that were sent. What did you publish? When did you publish? What did it look like? What was the image you used? You want to check which sites are supported. And in particular, when you're evaluating these different tools, look for the limits of the number of profiles you can connect. That's where a lot of the free options like Hootsuite get you. They'll let you connect 3 profiles or something like that. But as soon as you have a 4th one, you're going to pay for it. Well, if you have 1 Facebook page and 3 locations, you've already, with Google Plus pages, you've potentially already exceeded, the number of free profiles that you can use. And we would recommend that you look for a tool that allows you to bulk import posts from an Excel spreadsheet. so that you can develop that content ahead of time in Excel, send it to your different team, and management to review and approve those posts, and then import those posts right into the tool so you can publish a few weeks or a month worth of content all at once. So this is a screenshot, of our tool and what's involved with creating a post. So basically you pick your social media profiles that you want to publish to. You can draft your post. You can schedule when that post is going to be published. And, obviously we've added a link and an image so we can preview, what that's going to look like down below. I would click schedule that post and off we go. So to schedule an individual post like this is very, very quick, very, very easy. You know exactly what it's going to look like and when it's going to be published, and off it goes. So when it comes to monitoring, when you're looking at these different profiles or these different platforms, you want to make sure that you have a unified inbox where all posts and comments to you are found. So, and when I say that it's unified, that means that if you're using Facebook and you're using Twitter and you're using LinkedIn, or you're using, YouTube, that any comments there all come into this to one spot, one pane of glass, as they call it, so that you can see all of those comments and all of those posts and be able to respond to them right from within the tool, so you don't have to go back to each of those social media sites to address them. You can look for automatic sentiment scoring. So these tools will indicate if something's a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment, and potentially have rules that you can apply on how you want to handle those. You want to be able to perform keyword searches across all social media sites, not just your profiles, and in particular review sites and the web in general for mentions. So you can set these up so you get notified of mentions of certainly your company name, of any product names that you use, of your competitors' names, of your executives' names, or your board members, anything like that. And again, when you're setting up these searches or when you're evaluating these tools, look for the limitations in the number of searches. Similar to the number of social media profiles, you may have limits in the number of searches. And we really highly recommend a tool, or tools that don't have any limits. You want to be able to set up as many searches as you need so that you're monitoring effectively for any mentions that you want to be aware of. And certainly you want to be able to get email alerts of these monitors, because you may not even want to log into the social media tool all the time. But if you get a mention, of a certain type or, in a certain way, you want to receive an email alert or an email summary, of all of those comments that come in. This is an example of our unified inbox. So in this case, I can tell from the left that these are, with the little F icons, that these are all Facebook comments. But, we can see that in your season ticket info that you're sponsoring, a jersey. Congratulations, Jamie. Wish it would have been me. Whatever people are commenting on, you'll be able to see that there. And you can see up here, there's a little reply button. So if I wanted to reply to this comment, I could click on that, type my reply. I can assign this to another employee, at the financial institution, so that, hey, this person is asking a question or has an issue, can you look into it? My credit card has been stolen. What do I do? So if you don't know the answer in the marketing department, you can certainly, assign that to somebody in the cards, in the plastics area, and they can, respond right away. And you'll be able to see that they've actually responded and actually view the entire communication thread, if you need to. So that's an example of a unified inbox. Reporting these social media tools, you should be able to build and schedule custom reports. They should also have, obviously, stock reports available for you as well. But you want to be able to track the metrics that are most important to you from each of your social media profiles. You want to identify the posts with the most engagement. You want to use these tools to archive all of your posts. So again, when it comes to reviewing, social media and your use of social media, you'd be able to pull out these reports and say, look, here, are all of the posts that I had in December of 2016 or in December of 2015 for that matter. Because you can archive those reports. This is an example of a report from our system focusing specifically on Twitter. And you can see the number, the kind of the trend in the growth of followers, and you can see how many mentions they've seen, on Twitter, and how many retweets there were, what dates those occurred, all of those types of things. This is an example on Facebook, again showing, how many page fans they had, what the page engagement was, how many page views, how many engaged users each month. Because if we talk about engagement, we want to be able to measure that engagement. And these are just, snippets of these reports. They're longer than this and contain multiple elements, but like in the case of the Facebook reports, I know these reports also will actually show the comments that people had, and you'd be able to review all of those on whatever frequency you need to. Some advanced functions to look for is that ability to override preview images. If you're used to using Facebook, and when you put in a link in a post that Facebook automatically goes and picks an image on that page, that may not be the image you want to use. It may not be the best image to use even on that page. So you want to be able to override whatever image Facebook tells you to use with, potentially your own. Look for tools that allow you to publish not only photos in your posts, but also publish Facebook cover photos, entire photo albums, and videos, and all of those types of things. We think it's very valuable to have that ability to assign activities and responses to other users. You're not always going to know the answer to a question or know how to respond to an issue, but you are able to assign that to somebody, send them, which, the tools would send an email to them letting them know that they were assigned to follow up on something. They log in, and that's the first thing they see is what tasks were assigned to them. You can set up auto responders and auto followers, and you can do it so that it doesn't look automated. Again, we realize that you have other things to do throughout the day. So if there's ways that we can automate some functions, we're all for tools that help you do that. And we can show you, especially with Twitter, different strategies for automating some of that. And look for functions that help you curate that content, that help you find content to publish. We think there's tons of options that you have if you talk to different people, within your institutions. But if you're ever having trouble, curating content, a lot of these tools, including ours, has the ability to actually learn from the content you've published, what content you're likely to publish, and then can actually show you posts, articles from other websites and things that might be relevant for you to then share on social media. And then just to give you kind of an overview of our social marketing solutions, we have a wide variety of social media services that we offer our clients. We can help you set up your accounts. We can design your profile, set up your profile images and your cover photos. We can help you with that daily management, of social media. We can train you and your staff on the appropriate use of social media. We can show you how to do this social media monitoring. We can help you set a strategy for community building. How are we going to increase the number of fans? How are we going to increase the engagement with those fans? And we can help you set up social media advertising. I can do a whole separate presentation on how Facebook and, LinkedIn, but especially Facebook, is a tremendous advertising platform, for banks and credit unions. So please feel free to contact me regarding any of those services, and I will certainly be available to answer any questions that you have for the next few minutes. I thank you very much for your time today and look forward to speaking with you soon.